Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ready, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that spangled banner yet wave o'er the land under the fray, and the home of the brave.
Don't be afraid, this is a low fat, and you are listening to HonestAnswerRadio.com. Now, where is the egg roll you guys promised me?
The views and opinions expressed on the Honest Answer Radio show are the opinions of Honest Answer Media and no one else. If you're hearing a syndicated broadcast of this show, don't hold it against the broadcaster. Rather, congratulate them on their openness, tolerance, and respect for the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you very much.
How do rumors get started? Started by the jealous people, and they get mad seeing something they had somebody else is holding. They tell me that temptation is very hard to resist. These wicked women, ooh, they just persist. Maybe you think it's cute, but girl, I'm not impressed. I tell you one time only with my business, please don't mess with you. Look at all these rumors surrounding me every day. I just need some time to get away from all these rumors. Can't take it no more. My best friend said there's one I'll never meet.
And welcome to Honest Answer Radio here on HonestAnswerRadio.com, where we're kicking the mainstream media in the teeth every chance we get. If it's your first time listening to us, I'm going to be the Marty half of your dynamic hosting duo this evening.
And since it's what, Tuesday?
Yeah, I think so.
Tuesday, I will be the Casey half of tonight's extravaganza.
Man, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what day it is. I'm a little strung out right now. I don't know if you can tell, maybe by looking at the width of my eyes, that I look like a meth freak.
Well, we've had issues.
Peaking.
Y'all, Marty had to run some errands today.
Run some errands.
That mortal man actually shouldn't be asked to do. He got in at 5:30. The show starts at 6. But obviously, I've been home posting, getting things squared away. But our website's not functioning right. So if you've had a little difficulty getting on,
you ain't by yourself.
No, migrating servers is not for the weak.
You know what else is not for the weak?
What?
Driving in Birmingham.
No.
For those of you not listening to us in Alabama, let me tell you something. Stay out of Birmingham. Just stay away from it. If y'all get to the point that y'all going to be having to come through Alabama on your way down to Florida or Atlanta or something like that, and you're going to come through it, Alabama, don't go to Birmingham.
Now stop in Jasper and get a hotel room.
Get off the interstate. You hear me? Get off. Just get off it. Bypass it. Stay away from Birmingham. Let me tell you something. Them people's crazy. You know, you used to live in Birmingham. So I'm thinking a little bit of this is your fault.
Well, now,
can y'all tell I got a good mad worked up?
Well, in my defense, most of the time that I lived in Birmingham, I didn't have a car. So don't blame it on me. I tried to tell them.
You could have done something about it. You should have done something about it.
You're right. I should have. But see,
somebody need to do something
about it. I knew that you was going to be driving over there today. It was a lot more fun.
Who designed the interstate system there in Birmingham? Who designed that?
If this were a Terry Pratchett novel, it would have been Bloody Stupid Johnson.
Well, I think Barack Obama. Did the same people that did healthcare.gov, did they have anything to do with some of the
it wasn't them, it was their daddy.
I'm talking 8 lanes of traffic. Now, this ain't even on the interstate. This is in Birmingham proper. All right? Well, maybe not Birmingham proper. We'll call it Mountain Brook. All right? Over around Samford University. 8 lanes of traffic. Supposed to be doing 45 mile an hour.
But every one of them was messed up, wasn't they?
Man, you couldn't see half of them. You couldn't see half the cars as they was going by. And turn signal? What's a turn signal? All you people that live in big cities, y'all make me sick. If you're listening to us right now and you're coming to us from a big city, turns off. You can't listen to us tonight. Y'all are on timeout. I'm mad at all of y'all. All of you big city people, I don't want nothing to do with y'all. Sorry. If it make you mad, turn us off. Y'all be ashamed of yourself living like that, driving like that. What is wrong with you people? All right, I'm through. I'm also a little hostile because on the way, other than seeing a traffic fatality, the absolute worst 18-wheeler accident I've ever seen in 43 years. Other than that, I was listening to talk radio all the way there.
Well, now, you knew that was going to get your blood pressure up.
You know, and it's not the people doing the radio shows.
No, it's just that everything
it's
that
their
they've got.
audio clips they kept playing.
Everything that they've got to talk about right now is so messed up.
Where do you start with what's wrong here? Where do you start?
I'll tell you a good place to start.
Well, wait. There's NSA scandals.
Right.
Still, I mean, and that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we know what that's about. But nonetheless, it's out there. And now the UN is wanting to get involved. Mm-hmm. All right. There's that. Then, of course, we've got our healthcare system getting a complete foot in the butt and going to crap. 1.5 million people done got, have either gotten or are about to get insurance cancellation letters.
Well, as a matter of fact, more people have had their insurance canceled than have actually successfully registered to obtain insurance.
Mm-hmm. There's
as near as anybody can figure, since they're not. That woman said 8 times today in the congressional hearing about Obamacare. A woman said 8 times the same non-answer. We'll get you those numbers in November.
Yeah. Non-answer. I like the
because
way you put that.
Because we can't do put a free hit counter on our website or a little tally to show how many people, because we wouldn't want to crow about how many people have signed up for our glorious, wonderful red socialist insurance comrade.
Man, dude, in the midst of all that, I'm listening to Limbaugh, right? Because Russian demand. So I'm listening to Limbaugh. And he plays this clip back from 2007. And what he's mad about is, Charles Krauthammer, when they did that hour-long special on him the other last weekend, he made the mistake of saying that he didn't know who Barack Obama was. He didn't know whether he was, a lefty, throwing a bone to the center every once in a while, or if he was a center throwing a bone to the left. And he said he didn't figure it out until like 5 weeks after his inauguration. And that made Rush's head explode. Politico had to do a big write-up about it,
Right.
And act like there's this big feud between Rush and Charles Krauthammer, and there wasn't. But what Rush was trying to say was, what do you mean you didn't know? And he played this clip from 2007 where from 2003. Then Senate candidate Obama, all right? And he's talking about his vision for a health care system. And in that clip, he says something to the effect of, I'm not quoting him directly here, but it was something to the effect of, I can envision, it's gonna be a really hard transition, but we're not going to be able to get rid of company-sponsored or employer-sponsored insurance right away. He said we're not going to be able to get rid of it right away. He said it may take a decade, but that eventually private insurance, under his vision, the private insurance companies would find that they couldn't afford to stay in business, and they would have to just go away and get everybody on a universal, single-payer healthcare system.
Socialized medicine.
And Rush, like you and I occasionally, his head was going to explode because he couldn't figure out, what do you mean you didn't know who this man was? He played some clips back from 2007 with then presidential candidate Obama. He's like, I knew this stuff in 2008. We were trying to tell you this stuff in 2008. The Tea Party tried to tell you these same things in 2012.
But no, the Tea Party is just a bunch of crazy folks.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that hate America. They hate government. Them old Tea Partiers, they're just racist. They always want to go back in time.
Yeah. Look, we're going forward.
Oh, yeah, forward. That's their motto, ain't it? Forward.
Forward. Look where forward got us.
I was telling, who was it? Our pastor. I was talking to my pastor a few weeks ago, and we were talking about, progressives. And I said, they got this word all messed up. Just because the word progress is in there, progress ain't always a good thing. Like if you're moving forward and you don't make a turn when you're supposed to, you can go right off a cliff.
In which case, progress is a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. You wanting to put the brakes on and go back to a happier time.
When you weren't going over the cliff.
Yeah. This whole, progress and progressive, they're really good. The left is really good at, words. They're really good at choosing which words they use where. And you really have to pay attention and really focus on what they're saying before you know what they mean sometimes. But Barack Obama was freaking clear. He was crystal clear, Casey.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't paying any attention to him back in 2003, and neither were you. I wish we had been.
In 2006, when he was the guest speaker there at the Democratic National Convention, I remember Tina and I sitting in here watching this man speak, and Casey, he had us. He had us. The things that man was saying when he was making his speech, it was everything that you and I and Tina had been saying.
It sounded reasonable.
It did. And then when we heard he was coming back in 2008 at first, we were very, very excited to know that he had thrown his hat in the presidential arena. And, back during the Democratic primary even as soon as that.
I know we defended him against Hillary.
Yep, we did. We sure did. But now, after the Democratic primary, remember, when we found out he was going to be the one, late as it was, that's when you and I started doing our own personal vetting of the man. And remember how frustrated we were because on his website, where he had his platform. He had all these things, health care and
see,
and
in
security,
all honesty,
but
though,
he didn't say anything about what he was going to do.
In all honesty, he did say it's just that everything that he said he was going to do, that those campaign promises that he made leading up to the actual election where he beat John McCain like a drum,
right,
was, all of the stuff about transparency.
Mm-hmm.
About posting bills so that we get a chance to read them before they,
letting them debate the bills on C-SPAN.
Yeah,
Remember
there was a whole
C-SPAN airtime, man.
There was a whole bunch of that.
Gonna let the public. Oh, wait. He was also gonna write bills, have bills written in such a way
that anybody
could understand them.
Yeah, all that, and so on election day, remember, I voted for him.
I didn't. I didn't.
Because I thought, aha, because number one, the alternative was John McCain, which,
as bad as it was, just like with Mitt Romney, he was not the perfect freaking candidate. He's
I
not the
learned
one we would have
chosen. My
chosen.
lesson in 2012.
There is a such thing as a lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
I can't stand John McCain.
I can't either, but now I'm wondering, well, what would have happened if I'd gone back and changed? If I could go back in time and.
But John McCain's at least Casey. His spine is set to where it can be persuaded, because he's fell for some of this jackass stuff himself. So he would have been able to work with both parties.
More than likely. I still have a hard time even choking out President McCain. I mean,
don't do that to yourself. Don't do that.
But let's put it. We need to move on here in just a minute because there are some things.
All of
we
this
got
does
to get
tie
into.
in, believe it or not.
Yeah,
I've got some in a couple of my audio things. This stuff comes back.
But I think I know where we're headed with this, because you were hearing the same things today that I was reading.
Okay.
And. There's a whole lot of people right now who are going back in time and reinventing history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of these are Democrats who are going back and going, well, any reasonable person would have known that you couldn't, everybody wasn't going to get to keep their health care plan, blah, blah.
But
No. Because, see, we can play, and I bet you have some queued up right there, where we can play many, many times that Barack Obama said clearly.
Ask me to.
I wish it. Let's just let him say.
Tell me you're going to
keep in mind that a reasonable person would have known that they couldn't keep their health care plan.
Mm-hmm. Any reasonable person would have known better than that, right?
Sure.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't like big on you keeping your health care plan or anything.
Okay, let's just see here.
Here are the details that every American needs to know about this plan. First, if you are among the hundreds of millions of Americans who already have health insurance through your job, or Medicare, or Medicaid, or the VA, nothing in this plan will require you or your employer to change the coverage of the doctor you have.
So all y'all that got those cancellation letters?
Let me repeat this. Nothing in our plan requires you to change what you have. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
But I don't think we're going to be able to eliminate employer coverage immediately. There's going to be potentially some transition process. I can envision a decade out, or 15 years out, or 20 years out.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period.
If you like your doctor, you keep your doctor. If you like your current insurance, you keep that insurance.
If you've got health insurance, you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan. Nobody is talking about taking that away from you. If you like your current insurance, you will keep your current insurance. No government takeover, nobody's changing what you've got if you're happy with it.
Now, look, dude, I put that little montage there together without even really paying attention because we only had like 4 minutes to go on the air.
But you snuck that little sound clip in there in the middle.
Yeah, and my only regret is that I got happy with my editing finger and cut the rest of it off, and I really wish I could have let that one play. But my point is it took me no time. No time. All right, look, you go to YouTube, right? You type in Obama, you can keep your doctor. And there is a cornucopia of places to
I bet
choose
you got
from where
different
he
camera
said that.
angles.
Dude, it's different places, different times. It's unbelievable how many times he told that lie.
Except that one time there in the middle, he was telling the truth.
That was actually a clip from the Senate candidate, Obama.
Yeah.
That was the last time he probably told the truth about anything.
So we know the truth, but now what's got me, man? Just for an example, let's just pick out Ezra Klein.
Okay. Do we have to? Because he makes my teeth itch.
Dude, I think he was published this one, I think, in the Washington Post. That a nice long list of everything that Republicans have done to screw up Obamacare.
That Republicans have done.
Yeah. Now, let me take your mind back, Marty.
Okay.
Let's go back. 2009.
2009, I'm there.
They're writing all this Obamacare legislation, this communist manifesto of health care.
Right.
You know, they're writing all that, and they're making those promises, you know, about it. You can give, you know. I don't remember a single Republican going, hey, I actually got to have some say about what it went in that health care bill. Because what I remember is Republicans in Congress getting together and writing up a counter proposal that was, 3,000 pages, something like that. You know, big old thick thing, probably full of pork and all kinds of other crap too. But at any rate, it was an alternative, and it wasn't even looked at.
The president
refused to look at it. The Democrat members of Congress refused to look at it. So that's Republicans have had nothing to do with any part of Obamacare.
It was passed without a single Republican vote, Case.
They tried here recently. They tried their dangest to defund it. Now, what part of that is they would have had Ezra Klein would have had a good claim if Republicans had been able to absolutely torpedo Obamacare.
Yep.
But none of the delays.
If they had even gotten one single solitary concession, there might have been room for at least a half a finger point. But there wasn't any.
But see, this is a typical case, not only of desperation,
revisionist history
of the Alinskyite tactic of pinning on your opponent exactly what you're doing. In other words, you know, you're screwing up the healthcare system, so when things start going screwy and people start complaining about it, you blame it on the opposition.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing is, this time, Ezra, you and your journal-lister folks, you can't pin it on the Republicans. They had nothing to do with this. I can't stand the GOP, but I will say this: if the GOP had anything to do with this, we wouldn't be in this boat right now.
But you know what? You've got Ezra Klein, and that is a case of them blaming the right. Okay. I have a case of NBC putting an article out yesterday as if it was news that the president knew as much as 3 years ago that these very things were going to happen, that people were not going to be able to keep at 42 to 67%, according to his own estimates. Now, NBC put this thing up yesterday. I block quoted on our website.
Yeah, then they took it down for a little while.
And you know what else they did when they took it down? They did a little bit of editing.
Well, just a little bit of rewrite. I mean, look.
Only the bottom paragraph that I put on our website in the block quote, that bottom part, gone. Any mention of Obama knowing about it? Gone.
But guess what? The folks on Twitter, they
quick with the screen caps, ain't they?
They was awful quick with the screen caps. And,
Yep. NBC put it back. They've put it back after, bowing to public pressure. But what burnt me more than them taking it down, I expect them to do that. But for them to lead with this story,
now see,
call it an investigative piece, and report this stuff as if they never knew any of it, as if they're just hearing it for the first time.
That's what burns me, is, NBC, you just now figured out that Obama's lying. They've been carrying his water for more than the last 3 years.
Worse than that, they've been ridiculing everybody that said the exact same thing that they printed in their blasted article.
Yes.
They called us extremists for even suggesting it, man.
And racist.
You were racist for even suggesting that anything would be, that the president would lie, that the president would intentionally lie. You are a bigot for suggesting that. See, and these people are going to act and pretend.
Remember back when when we finally were able to get our hands on the bits and pieces of the Obamacare text that we were able to get, and long after it was enacted, I may say. But we tried telling people way back then, man, what's that been? It's been a couple years. Jeez.
Yeah.
But
you know how much we went through an entire ink cartridge, man, printing this stuff out so we could look at it.
And y'all, that's a sacrifice, because if y'all tried to buy toner lately,
and see, back then, remember, we had camera, so we had to show folks on the camera, look, we printed this out.
Yeah. So I remember us talking and telling people that the president was lying then, because I remember we had found that this particular section on there where it's talking about, if the insurance doesn't meet the minimum
criteria,
minimum criteria, you can't keep it.
Or if it changes in any way. If you've ever had insurance, you know as well as I do, you'll probably get a letter at least every other month.
About some little change,
or new privacy policy, or we're changing this kind of coverage, and it's going to cost you 3 cents more. Or 3 cents less, even. You've been with us long enough that you've earned some leeway here where we can give you a cost break. Even if your insurance went down, you can't keep it. Now, you know what some of those standards are they're talking about, man? Did you know that me and you get maternity care?
Yeah, we get maternity care.
What's up with that? We got to be insured with maternity stuff. It's got to be made available to me and you. Really? Really? So, like, if I go past a kidney stone, I get to go to the women's pavilion now and be in there with all the plush furniture and the real fluffy pillows and the comforters instead of them cheap old blankets, and get to eat real food that don't taste like a rubber shoe. I'm down with that now. If they can give me access to the women's pavilion, all right.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think you're going to get an epidural.
It ain't like that?
No, and I don't think there'll be anybody in there wiping your head with a tissue. I'm darn sure not going to be standing there holding your hand while you squeeze out a kidney stone. I don't even think Tina would
we covered for ovarian cancer, too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
So when mine and your ovaries play out, we're covered, dude.
But see, all you out there who still have your employer-funded insurance, you didn't lose yours this year.
No, that comes in 2014.
Which this tells me this is one reason why Obama was wanting to delay that particular mandate, why he was so eager to do it. Because, see, then
it'd be another president's problem.
Exactly. See, now it's going to kick in, and there will be much more wailing and gnashing of teeth, because that's going to wipe out. I mean, these people are talking about anywhere up to 67%. I think the number of people who end up booted off their employer insurance is going to be a lot higher than that once once it happens.
But man, it is the arrogance that these people have had. These people on the left, you might as well call them Democrats, whether they're journalists, quote unquote journalists, or whether they're actual politicians. You may as well just call them Democrats, because that's what they are. They're pushing the Democrat agenda. The arrogance of their approach to our questions, that even we as just Americans, just regular old Americans, Marty and Casey, citizens who have the right to question, the arrogance that they had. Today I'm listening to this morning before I left, I was watching the hearings that was going on with the lady in charge of the CMS.
Yeah.
At these hearings, it gives these congressmen a chance to, grandstand a little bit and talk about my constituents, or like the conservatives are like demanding answers, right? All of the Democrats, every one of them, they're apologizing to this woman that she's having to come answer these questions. And you know how you were saying any reasonable person would have known this was the case, right? You know who said that almost that very thing, almost verbatim? You know who said that?
Who would that be? Durbin?
No, your buddy and mine, Charlie Rangel.
Oh, any reasonable person.
I want to first, I would like to apologize to you on behalf of all of those Americans that have never previously had access to quality health insurance, who now, for the first time in their lives, will now have high quality insurance, very much like what I enjoy here in the congressional occupation. I myself, I did not get to participate in Obamacare, as I am a member of Congress, and we have the equivalent of an employer-provided health care. So we're not required to have Obamacare, but it's a wonderful thing. And I'm so very, very sorry that you're having to come here and answer these questions from these men who are clearly just trying to further their own political careers.
Personally, I have no political career.
Any reasonable human being would have seen these events coming. You remember Part D? My colleagues. There was some glitches. And now everything's fine. We said we didn't vote for this. But we're going to work with our Republican colleagues across the aisle to make it happen. But we haven't had that happen here. No kidding. Charlie, dear, sweet Charlie. Those folks...
You're drunk. Go home.
Yeah. Those folks that you're talking about that never had access to quality health care.
They still don't, Charlie.
Yeah, they still can't afford this stuff, man. Sticking somebody with $100 a month payment and giving them a $13,000 deductible isn't doing them any favors, Charlie. That's not helping these folks.
Yeah, if you triple the cost of somebody's premiums and then their deductible goes sky high because they're a 35-year-old man who is now paying for his own obstetrical care.
Dude, this guy called into Rush today. He's married and has 6 kids, all right?
Bless his heart.
Now, at the moment, he has employer health care, right? His premiums right now are $4,000 a year, okay? That's not him having to write a check or anything. That's they take it out of it out of his check without him ever seeing it. But it amounts to $4,000.
But he's got 6 kids, right?
Yeah.
So
he got his letter from his employer-sponsored insurance company, who said that for him to keep his current line of health care, He has right now. He has a $1,500 deductible. He is going to have a $13,000 deductible. I mean, no, not excuse me, an $8,000 deductible, and it's going to cost him $13,000 a year. It went from $4,000 a year to $13,000 a year. That's more than triple, man.
Yeah, well, we have a friend. Like I said, I don't think he wants his name called out on air or anything, but we have a friend who got a similar letter. He's got twins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, his is now the roughly the same amount as his mortgage.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That American dream of home ownership, that all these liberals keep talking about, and they establish Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, for. Well, you can kiss that dream of American home ownership goodbye, buddy, when you have to choose between whether you have a house or whether you pay the health care bill that you've got.
And you got to keep in mind. The object of all of this is for everybody to lose their employer-sponsored health care.
Yeah, because, see, the only way that this Obamacare thing is going to work is if everybody in the United States is paying into it.
Into a single-payer system.
And see,
Kathleen Sebelius told Jon Stewart even, if we'd have gotten the single-payer system all along, this wouldn't be necessary.
Mm-hmm. The thing
But
is,
that's the end game.
That is the end game. They've been lying all along about it not being the end game. Now they've actually stopped lying about it.
They were lying all along about you can keep your current plan,
right?
You can keep your doctor.
So why should you trust a progressive, Marty?
Oh God,
anything?
I'll
wait.
Wait a minute. Wait. There's got to be something.
I'll wait.
No matter what they may say about the Tea Party, you can't call them liars. No matter what you want to say about us on the right, you can't call us liars. However, you guys on the other hand, have made lying into an art form. That's all you do.
And see, all of our good friends who consider themselves to be liberals and good Democrats, we've got some friends like that. Most of them are trying to put a brave face on it right now because let's face it, crow is about the bitterest thing in the world to eat.
And what you've got here is a den of lying liars and crap weasels.
Yes.
Yeah,
and they're
much.
having to eat all of that. They're having to eat the fact that they've been standing up and sticking up and joining in the ridiculing with a bunch of lying liars and crap weasels. Those good people that we know, they're good people that are liberals. A lot of them are having to admit, I have backed the wrong horse. You know what I found really funny?
What's that?
Which is actually bringing us to another piece of audio. Mika Brzezinski. This had.
Yes.
Dude. What's his name? Scarborough. Joe Scarborough put together this little montage of the president never being responsible for anything, for him never knowing. He didn't know about anything. All these scandals, he didn't know about any.
Tell you what, he did know, like I said today in the post that I put up, which you probably haven't even had a chance to read yet. Obama didn't know nothing was going on nowhere except when they told him where Bin Laden lived. He got that part.
Yeah, he did.
He got that
right.
part. But that's the last thing in his administration that he knew about.
Well,
all this other stuff. See, he ain't studied up on health care.
No.
He ain't had no clue that the NSA was wiretap.
He know about no Solyndra.
No, he didn't know nothing about Solyndra. He didn't know nothing about any of this IRS stuff going on.
Fast and Furious.
No, Fast and Furious of Benghazi. No, man, look.
That's not his fault. Joe Scarborough put this little piece together, and when it was over with, Mika's like, "That's just not fair." I mean, they can't. Some of these liberals, not the good people that we know that are liberals, but these hardcore dyed-in-the-wool progressives, it's not daytime. No, I don't care what you say. That's not the sun, and this is not daytime.
The sky is not blue. I don't care what you say.
Just check this out.
I'm going to jump to another story now because there are also new developments surrounding the NSA. While President Obama may be poised to order a ban on eavesdropping on friendly leaders monitoring, it's still unclear what exactly the White House knew and when. The president is increasingly facing accusations from all sides of being a mere onlooker in his own White House. Republicans are calling President Obama the, quote, bystander president. A memo on the RNC's website points out numerous examples of a president who appears to be left in the dark.
I heard on the news about this story that Fast and Furious, where allegedly guns were being run into Mexico.
Do you know when he first knew that there was a problem?
Well, I think it became clear fairly early on, the first couple of days, that...
So not before that, though? Not before October 1st?
When did you first learn that the IRS was targeting conservative political groups?
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about.
When did the president find out about the Department of Justice's subpoenas for the Associated Press?
Yesterday.
And...
I mean, let me just be clear. We don't have any independent knowledge of that. He found out about the news reports yesterday on the road.
I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG report had been leaked through press.
Just a quick question about Solyndra. Has the president been briefed about what has developed on that?
I think he's probably read some news accounts of it. I'm not aware that he's been briefed.
Okay, there's so many reasons why that's not fair, but we can start picking them apart. It's not just Republicans who are calling the president's level of engagement.
There's just so many reasons that's not fair. What are they? Come on. I mean, I did stick around. I didn't want to see the rest of it. But see, she didn't. Mika did not know what was going to be in that clip.
No, you could tell.
She had no clue. The look on her face was like, Joe Scarborough, you bastard. She did not realize just exactly what was about to happen. And when she's faced with the truth, there's just so many reasons that's not fair. Like what? Well, like, I wasn't ready for that. Like, I didn't know you were going to play, that. But you notice in the clip, the president, he don't know about anything until it comes out on the news.
Yeah.
That he doesn't watch.
I think he goes to the Drudge Report pretty often.
No. According to him, no. I don't really have time to be spending, looking at like tabloid news sites like, the Drudge Report. No.
So, let me ask you this. What does the president actually do with his time? Does he have
he plays basketball?
Do we have an executive version of Light Bright there in the Oval Office?
Light Bright.
Where him and Smoking Joe sit down and build little ships.
Maybe he's got a slinky on one of them big old executive office building staircases.
Look, even a progressive can get bored with a slinky after 10 minutes.
Silly putty, maybe?
The good Stretch Armstrong doll, and
he's doing something. Maybe he's trying to solve the Rubik's Cube.
I mean,
I don't know. Some of the younger people listening to us right now is going, what are they talking about? What are those things?
Well,
look, they're toys. Just shut up. Read a book.
I mean, but seriously, what does he actually do?
Well, he gets Bin Laden.
Look, that was in what, 2009?
Look, he got Bin Laden, though, Casey. And there's pictures of him in the Situation Room. He got Bin Laden,
but not during the Benghazi attack, though.
That's because he was not aware of anything that was going on until, he heard about it on the news that he don't watch. And even then, that's not really his domain. That's that State Department. He would refer us to state. Okay, and let me be clear. The president doesn't have any knowledge Well, that's all. The president doesn't have any knowledge. How did it... I almost said, how did this man get elected? But I remember now how he got elected. A whole bunch of morons got together and voted for him.
But he didn't do anything in the Senate either.
Would they have voted for him if they known that the man was never going to do anything as president?
But see, when he was in the Senate, he didn't do anything there either.
Well, you know what, man? Look, maybe, just maybe, they're all telling the truth here. Maybe the president didn't know about any of these things, because he's so well insulated and everything. Maybe Valerie Jarrett knew it all. Maybe it's all on Valerie.
We can't waterboard anymore, can we?
No. But I wouldn't waste the water on them fools.
I would on Valerie Jarrett.
You know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping that at least 10, 20 years down the line, our grandchildren's, or either our grandchildren's children or our grandchildren will be, able to look back, and some of this stuff won't be sealed anymore, and can look back and see what these people did.
And play with Obama's light bright?
Well, or at least know not to be fooled again. Because, look, man, if this is teaching us nothing else, it is teaching us the importance of vetting a candidate. Not just for president, but for dog catcher, too. I hope this has taught this entire nation. If we learn nothing else from these these next few years and the last 4, if we didn't learn anything else, is that you cannot trust them on their word.
Here's another thing that we've learned. We've learned something very valuable about community organizers. If somebody goes to run for office, and that's the experience that they bring, is they were a community organizer, and that's all they...
for a couple of years.
Well, I mean, when he was running for senator, the only thing he had on his resume was community organizing.
True. If they've never had a job...
So...
like a real job? Like a job?
So, surely even some of the Democrat voters out there can learn that it's a bad plan to trust anybody who sits around and does nothing but make policy all day. Because that's essentially what community organizers do. They kind of decide which direction that the social order should be progressing.
Right.
The progressing.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And they dive in and try to engineer that social order. Folks, when somebody, if you can spot the social engineer in somebody, and that includes the Republican candidates too.
Oh, please believe.
Okay, when you see that, that's the candidate you don't vote for. Okay, because there's a whole lot of people who are bound and determined to tell you how you think you should live. Y'all can say what you want about Ted Cruz. You can say what you want to about Jeff Sessions and Mike Lee and Trey Gowdy and some of these other folks up there who are small government guys like Rand Paul and all them. Mm-hmm. Say what you want to about those folks. But one thing that those folks are trying very hard to do is to get the government off your back and to get the government out of the position where it's making decisions for all these things that you're finding now are so darn intrusive.
But dude, that's what's really ironic here is like a true liberal. A lot of these people that have fallen for Barack Obama, these good people that we're talking about, liberals.
Mm-hmm.
That's what being a liberal used to be, man. A liberal used to be, they used to, when they made fun of them, when conservatives made fun of liberals, it was because they were hippies. And, the hippies wanted nothing more than to get the man out of their hair. They wanted to stop all the government intrusion into their privacy. They wanted to stop the government from being warmongers. They wanted it to be, you remember the whole generation of if it feels good, do it.
And don't let your parents tell you can't.
Don't trust anybody over 30. Don't trust the establishment.
Don't let Dick Nixon tell you how to live.
Right.
You know.
What happened to that? And the thing is that these same people that were screaming that and protesting that, people like Michelle Obama and Barack, people like Hillary and Bill Clinton, these were the same things that they were screaming back in the 60s, man.
Mm-hmm.
To be a liberal meant small government. To be a liberal meant privacy. To be a liberal meant being free to live the American dream.
But see, the thing is, what was left out of all of that, and this is something that conservatives apparently are the only ones that understand, is that personal responsibility comes with all those things. If you want the government out of your hair, you've got to have a sense of personal responsibility. In other words, you have to own up to making mistakes.
Right.
You have to fix them yourself. When you screw up, you have to fix your screw ups.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not what most of those people that like the occupiers and a lot of these
those
liberals
aren't
today.
The true liberals, though. No, those are progressives, dude.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, there aren't any liberals left anymore, man.
And look, it's just so weird to me that these same people call themselves, or they pretend to have no problem with socialism. That whole, living all under...
Until they have to pay for it, because there's a whole lot of them squawking, especially out there in California. There's a whole lot of those folks squawking right now because they wanted everybody to have, everybody to have health care, but they didn't want to pay for it. And now they're having to, and it's like it came... Their little socialist utopia actually had a price tag measured in dollars. And now these same people, what? I didn't want to pay it. Now all these other people who are out there thinking that they're getting free health care, well, see, they're not finding it out yet. The people who are dancing up and down saying, I finally got me some health insurance, blah, 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 they haven't yet had to go and wait in a line.
And like the ones,
the
only ones that are really happy are the ones that get this subsidy thing that I keep hearing about.
Uh-huh.
But
you only get that for just so long.
Right.
Okay, and then you're going to have to pay for your own health care. And guess what, folks? It's a steep price because if you're young, you've got to pay for all the old people who have to go to the doctor every other day.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be paying for that.
That's their target audience. They keep saying that, these are for young people that can't get insurance, through their employer and stuff. Young people. Young people don't want it. Young, healthy people that aren't sick, that don't get sick, the indestructible, my goodness, man. I look at the kids at our church sometimes and I'm thinking these kids are indestructible. They don't get sick. They don't want insurance. And they really don't like the idea of being told that you're either going to buy it or eventually you're going to have to go to jail.
See, I don't want those little ungrateful buzzards paying for my health care.
It's a tax.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pay taxes...
You don't pay the tax.
That's called tax evasion. See?
And the IRS takes a very, very dim view of tax evasion.
Yeah, they're a little hard-nosed about that thing.
So,
and the IRS just happens to be...
They just happen to be the ones that are administering Obamacare. So, folks, did we get anything we wanted?
Huh. We didn't even get a kiss.
Nope.
Not even dinner.
So, I mean, all this played out over the weekend and over the last 2 days, And, I was wanting to do a show by Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
After the football game.
Yeah.
Which Roll Tide. So, by the time the football game was over, I was ready to do a show then, but we had to wait till Tuesday. man, now that circumstances have changed and I'm not with the day job anymore, in order to cover everything, we may end up having to add a show somewhere here or there, the alternative is to do one longer. But I'm feeling the need to vent, and
maybe it might help the blood pressure.
I don't know. We're still thinking, and I tell you what, this is a good point in the show to kind of, clue people in. Yes, we've had some website difficulties.
Yeah.
We still got them. I'm after the show, I'm going to go right to work on fixing some of the things with the website not displaying properly. Headers missing. Richard showed me. Richard out there in the chat showed me a picture from his cell phone that was, whoo boy, it was a messed up picture. Weird things have happened in this particular server migration. Now the thing is, once we get these little bugs ironed out, this thing's going to be fast, like really, really fast. So a little bit of pain.
You're sounding like Jay Carney right now, right?
Yeah. Well, well, thank goodness that we ain't had anybody on there registering for anything. We would have been all messed up. But yeah, we've got a few glitches. But we bringing in the technical A team. Am I hitting the highest points? Yeah, we're doing a tech surge tonight, folks. So hopefully we'll get some things squared away.
Well, look,
we had issues. I hope none of y'all sent me an email to Casey at honestanswerradio.com over the weekend because our emails weren't being delivered. And I think I lost a few. Not many, but I think some of them dropped out and didn't. When we finally got the name servers pointed in the right direction, we started getting our mail. But I still think probably some of them, the deliveries timed out. So if y'all tried to send me or Marty or Tina anything over the weekend, you might want to resend it just in case. But we've got that the new website host to go out. We are still planning on doing something different for the mobile viewability of our website, so that I don't know exactly when we will get that done. Full disclosure. Because me and Rich tonight, we both got other things to do. I got to go to bed at some decent hour, so we've only got so much time to get things addressed. But we're going to work on that. We may have a nice big announcement coming down the pike. We'll let y'all know in a week or two on that. But
well, on that note, we can't end the evening without reminding everybody that bacon is meat candy still, and when the website's back up, if you go to the sponsors page,
which is the best way to, if you need a meat candy fix, the best way to get it is to go to the sponsors page at honestanswerradio.com,
and you can get a discount.
And you can get a discount with baconfreak.com. Bacon is meat candy, and they will help you. But you know what, Marty? Sometimes you need more than bacon. Man cannot live by bacon alone. And when the bad storms hit and wintertime is upon us, Marty, snow's going to pile up. People are going to be shoveling somewhere.
Hit in October, remember that?
That's right. So where would you find good emergency food that would keep for 25 years?
Oh, man, all you got to do is go over there to the sponsors page again, and there's this little banner, and it says myfoodstorage.com on it. Man, we've been talking. We're really seriously thinking about getting us one of these big buckets of some of their.
I want their freeze-dried fruit.
Yeah,
because that's an easy way to make apple pies and stuff like that in the wintertime.
Man,
you just add boiling.
You can just eat it.
Yeah,
just eat it. That's astronaut food, man.
You put it in your oatmeal.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. But now the meals, though, that you get from them. Like, you have 5-cheese lasagna. 5 cheeses, Casey.
I didn't know that. Until then, I didn't know there was 5 cheeses in the world.
I didn't either, and I didn't know you could put them on lasagna.
Or freeze-dry them.
Nope.
So, there you go.
Those aren't the only things you can find on the sponsors page. Like, we're pretty big into this whole protecting your identity thing.
So if you go to the sponsors page at honestanswerradio.com and click on the LifeLock ad, you too can get a discount and have you get your identity protected all at the same time at the same place by clicking on that little LifeLock
And this
banner.
is LifeLock we're talking about here.
This is not a fly-by-night, Guido and Bubba.
Really, this is they are the leader in identity protection.
They're protecting Rush Limbaugh's identity right now.
And you know how many people want to get his identity and mess him up?
Yeah, because Rush has got some money.
He says his little LifeLock thing goes off quite a bit.
But
that's not all we got. We're also into trying to be healthier and live longer so that we can, take our country back. And in doing that means we got to give up like smoking cigarettes, and that's really hard because I've tried patches. I tried them Chantix pills one time, and they made me want to like eat people. So they didn't work. See. And I've tried chewing nicotine gum, but it tastes like butthole. So, it took us a while, but now we found V2sig.com, and we put them, and they're on our sponsors page too. Everybody else can go find them that's wanting to quit smoking, and they've got the #1 rated e-cig on the market.
That's V2sigs.com from the sponsors page of honestanswerradio.com. But while we're doing this, if you need to find us and our website is doing like it's doing today and misbehaving, this ain't the only way you can get this show.
Oh, no.
No, you can go to goingbeyondradio.com, and not only can you find this show, you can find a bunch of other different quality shows.
They have a genuine demonologist on that network, man. A genuine demonologist.
Is that somebody that works on bone spurs?
No, man, that's somebody that says, the power of Christ compels you. Them people that knows about demons, man.
Well, you can get that. Stuff. You can get that fix on goingbeyondradio.com.
I hear now. I'm just hearing. They got progressives over there too.
So if you need to get your progressive fix on, go to goingbeyondradio.com, because you can pick up goingbeyondradio.com on all kinds of places like Live 365, iTunes,
box.
Roku, Blueberry,
Shoutcast.
TuneIn, Shoutcast, all those different platforms for you to find goingbeyondradio.com.
They got platforms there I never heard of. So give them, man, don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. goingbeyondradio.com.
Speaking of treating yourself, if a sports fix is what you need, go to the channels page on honestanswerradio.com and hover your little mouse over Sports World Radio and experience the fastest hour of sports on the internet.
It is fast too, because it's honest to God 60 minutes. But man, it's you got to.
Jeff and Sean cover some ground.
Boy.
They're involved in just about every kind of fantasy league that you could get yourself involved in. They do their picks and stuff on the air. It's a good show. It's like sitting in your living room and getting your sports fix with some people who think like you do, because these guys are not typical sportscasters.
No.
Speaking of not your typical,
look, in these hard times, me and Casey can't say it enough that people need Jesus. We even can help you if we can either get you Jesus fix, or we can introduce you to a man on our website that can introduce you to Jesus. Challenge from the Heart. It's on our little channels page.
Challenge from the Heart with Pastor Rick Hope from Lillian First Baptist Church.
Look, his last name says it all. Going to Challenge from the Heart. That's where you can find hope, man.
When you need hope, you need Rick Hope.
That's right. All right, dude. It's Tuesday. That means we'll be back on Thursday. We won't have to wait so long in between. So maybe our heads won't explode when we need to vent. Look, I'm looking at TV right now. There's Brian Williams wanting to know at what cause. He's finally wanting to come out and ask some questions. Brian Williams, you hack. All right. I'm done. All right, we're out of here.
Good
We'll
night,
see
y'all.
you guys on Thursday. Good night.
Love.